Ah, greetings, B-movie aficionados.
All right, welcome to Couple of Flicks. So today we're talking about our top 5 favorite horror films of the 21st century so far. So
Yeah.
So which of you want to go first?
Doesn't matter to me.
You guys can go first. I'll choose one that you might not say then.
Okay.
Because I'm
Alright.
assuming we have some of the similar picks.
Maybe, who knows? Do you want to go first?
Sure.
All right, cool.
I'm still uncertain about this list.
That's all right. I'm uncertain about my list too. So.
Yeah.
So at number 5, I have Antichrist.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
If you count it as a horror movie.
I definitely
Sure,
do.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Antichrist.
It's an intense one.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love nature. I love being outside in nature. And one of the best things about nature is how ugly and hideous it is. This film definitely nailed that, I gotta say. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite scenes in the movie were the scenes with the talking fox and and the dead deer, or not the deer with the stillborn baby that was kind of hanging out at the end of it, like.
Yeah.
And like all the stuff that was going on with the birds and all that stuff, like, and the scene where Willem Dafoe and he has all the deer, like when he wakes up and he has all the deer ticks all over his arm, like those are some of my favorite parts of the movie. I mean, to me, like, people don't speak about the horror of nature, you know, and
Yeah.
that film that spoke very closely to that in a way that I found quite intimate, actually, you know.
Yeah.
That was a very well done movie, you know. So
Yeah. I just like Lars von Trier as well. So.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Lars von Trier, yeah, man, that guy, what an enigma. You know? I mean, Dancer in the Dark is one of my favorite movies of all time, though. You know, I will admit. And I mean, you know, I know he's kind of one of those filmmakers that's kind of cool to hate for some people, but
Yeah.
I mean, his films have always been, you know, for me at least, you know, challenging in a way that I like. You know, he's good at making stuff that's uncomfortable and uncompromising
Yeah.
and heavy. You know.
Have either of you seen House That Jack Built yet?
Yeah.
No, I never saw it.
I liked it. You know, it was. There were again, it was very heavy, like the rest of his films were and are just in general. But I mean, there were things about it that I found certainly very thought provoking. I mean, it was a challenging movie, and you know, you could say that about all of his films, but this one was challenging in a way that was, you know, that might be a little bit more irritating for some people because it's kind of more morally challenging.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, like, because you're really, I mean, you're following this guy, and you pretty much are supposed to kind of be in his head. I mean, it goes way beyond something like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer would do. You know, it kind of more explores sort of the more narcissistic aspect of like a sociopathic mind, but it's done by Lars von Trier, who some people would argue has sociopathic tendencies. So that kind of gives it another layer, which, I mean, to me, like, in my opinion, to Lars von Trier is that he's just an awkward guy, and he has a lot of serious problems, which of course, you know, I'm not gonna like excuse his behavior or anything like that. Like, just because he has mental illnesses doesn't mean that he should like be, you know, making jokes about Hitler at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that but in my opinion though, like that's him. I mean, that's just who he is. And I don't know. He doesn't affect my personal life personally. So
Yeah.
I enjoy his movies. So
Yeah.
But yeah, Antichrist, that's a good horror movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to go next, or do you want me to go
You
next?
can go.
All right, I gotta look at my list. So I usually never do this, but I actually, I'm going to be on my phone this time because that's where my list is. So, because I don't remember my list off the top of my head, I spent a long time kind of deciding on it here. All right, so number 5 is a movie called The Skin I Live In. Have either of you seen that one?
I've heard of it, haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's the kind of horror movie that like the material, like the like what it's about. It's about something pretty ugly and hideous. It's about like obsession and somebody who is pretty much who is holding somebody captive. But I mean, I don't want to really talk about the plot too much because it's another one of those movies that has a constantly changing, shifting plot, and it's very perverse and very, very, very twisted. But it's one of those films that you can it's actually well made. It's the kind of film that it's well made trash, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
because the subject matter is extremely distasteful, and it's the kind of film where like if I were like working at a video store and somebody wanted a recommendation for a good horror, like a good foreign film, I would not choose The Skin I Live In. So, but I highly recommend it though, because it's the kind of film that I found scary in a more authentic kind of way, because it was about like a scenario that, like, I'm not going to say that it's like a realistic scenario, but you can imagine that there are people out there that are kind of twisted in those ways, or like groups of people, and Antonio Banderas he's in pretty much all of the directors. The guy who directed it is this filmmaker Pedro Almodovar, who has done a lot of really fantastic films. He's done some of my favorite films, and this one I wouldn't say The Skin I Live In is one of my favorite films of his, but I would definitely call it one of the best like horror films of the decade for sure. So
Nice.
Okay. All right, I'll go with one that's off the beatenish path. I liked Creep. Did you guys see Creep?
yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's on Netflix. It's a weirder one, and it's Mark Duplass. And I kind of like him. He makes just anything he wants, apparently, it seems. Because I guess like his background is like he just made a lot of money off the stocks randomly, and then just started making movies because he had the money to. And then he makes like the Duplass brother. I like they have a couple of good ones. Like
yeah,
like that newer one with Ray Romano in it. He was in. It was like a drama.
Pendleton.
Yeah,
Or something like that.
Paddleton.
Yeah.
I really
Paddleton.
liked
That
one a
one
lot.
was great.
Yeah, that's good.
So he has talent, even though he kind of came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
I think. And just, Creep was really good because he had just like kind of realistic, as in like, just got a stalker of this family. Or it's been a while since I've seen it, so I forget exactly the.
Yeah, he meets this guy over at Craigslist, and it kind of becomes like it kind of goes for, I'm not going to call it like a cable guy situation. It's more, it's different than that. Like he hires this guy to film him telling his telling his life story to his unborn children, basically, or his unborn son.
Right.
And so it starts off kind of like a pretty sort of like kind of a not necessarily like a charity thing, but just somebody doing someone a favor who they don't know and meeting this stranger who they've never met before, and then it kind of sort of devolves from there.
Yeah, and you could tell right off the bat he was a weirdo.
Yeah.
Or a creep.
Yeah.
He just was off.
I know. And like that's kind of what made the film sort of uncomfortable, is like the main character who's like filming this guy. Like you can tell that he's kind of uncomfortable with him, but he's like too nice a person to like say it to him, like to like just tell him, dude, you're like making me uncomfortable, or to even run away. Like he's too nice to run away, basically. And that ends up being sort of something that the creep of the title sort of brings up a couple times, like, oh, you're a really nice guy. He's complimenting him on how kind he is. It actually is a pretty creepy movie. And like there were things about it that were a little bit irritating to me. Like there's a lot of jump scares in it.
Yeah.
Although I do kind of feel like he was like that they did it sort of like intentionally, like because they kind of knew that it was going to be annoying. And
Mhm.
I think at that point in the film, it's a movie that's sort of supposed to be like annoying and uncomfortable, and kind of like when you're watching it, like it's not really like something you're supposed to be enjoying, but it's still kind of interesting. And actually, I met somebody who has a tattoo of Peach Fuzz.
Peach. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh. Which was Peach Fuzz? Who was
it's
that?
the mask that he wears.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
You must have loved that movie then.
That's the best part of the movie, so I'm not going to spoil that.
Okay.
But unless you want to, you know.
No, I mean you can. Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't want to spoil it.
it's
So
all good.
that's the best part of the movie, and that's definitely the scariest aspect of it too. I liked it. I thought it was scary, you know.
Yeah.
It was, you know, yeah.
No, definitely. Yeah, I liked it. It was a good one.
Yeah, good choice.
Cool. So my number 4 is American Psycho.
Ah. Okay. Yeah. So, how did you first see that one?
I don't remember. You probably showed it to me in high school or something. That's where most of a lot of the movies around that time came from.
We did that a couple times.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I really love that one.
Yeah. I remember, I think that was one of those movies that I think I heard about it from my older brother. He saw it on a date,
Oh, jeez.
and which, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think they were fine after that, but still, like, definitely wouldn't have been a movie that I would have chosen to go out on a date with a person with. I mean,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, it's a pretty smart movie. You know, I liked the angle that they went with about like the Wall Street sort of figure, and how they so it's based on a book, which the book is very, very different from the film. The film actually takes a completely different approach than the book does. And so like it's an adaptation of a book that I would consider separate from the film, you know. So the film, looking at it on its own terms, is pretty easy. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty funny, actually. I mean, there were
Good.
there were parts of it that were definitely like out there, but I mean, I like, it was a well done movie though. So, and
Yeah.
Christian Bale, that was sort of like it wasn't. I mean, I'd seen a couple films that he did when he was young, like when he was a kid. You know, there was Empire of the Sun and the TV remake of Treasure Island, which was pretty epic. He plays the main character in that, you know, when he was a teenager. But yeah, American Psycho, that was sort of his big. That's when he kind of became a household name almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I first heard his name.
Yeah, definitely.
You've seen it, right?
Yep. Yeah. A few times. I love that movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. What was my number 4 pick? Okay. My number 4 pick, Save the Green Planet. So this is it's a Korean movie, and I don't quite know if this would count as a horror movie. I mean, to me, it was a horror movie. I found it quite horrific, but it also kind of is like a science fiction film. So, but I say kind of like for a reason, you know. But that movie I found very, very, very interesting. And it's the kind of film that, you know, people that I just don't hear people talk about very much. So, and sometimes like people will bring it up when they're talking about like Asian horror movies. But since it's kind of debatable whether or not Save the Green Planet is a horror movie, I think it's kind of understandable why that one in particular doesn't get brought up very much. So, but I really like that movie. That's one of my favorites. So.
All right. I'll go with the Korean one then too. It's The Host. By Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love him. Like all his movies are great.
Yeah.
Snowpiercer was okay, but
My favorite's Memories of Murder.
yeah, that one's
Definitely.
amazing too. This
Yeah.
horror movie of his was this is my first one I saw of him, and I was just blown away when I saw it. I thought it was just crazy good, even though CG was cheesy and shit, but it was just different, and you could tell he was taking influence from American cinema, but definitely had just a Korean vibe. Like it was a Korean movie for sure.
Yeah.
Just a good monster horror flick.
Yeah, The Host was great. Very emotional.
Yeah.
Like very, very emotional, but in a good way. Like it's a movie about family, and it's the kind of film where like he's one of the things I love about Juno Bong is how good he is at balancing tone and rhythm. Like his sort of more tragic elements often have comedic sides to them as well.
Yep.
And he's really good at sort of eking out sort of the humor of existence and life and sadness and all that stuff. And The Host is definitely like no exception of that. I mean, that movie was great.
Yeah, that's why I liked it too. It just had some emotional impact in it as well. It wasn't just a straight like horror killer gore slasher.
Yeah, and the characters had substance too.
Yeah.
Like they had histories and they had like personalities.
Yep.
And it felt like it's the kind of movie where like you watch it and you can't help but wonder like why aren't more horror movies like this?
Yeah.
Where they actually like have like a human side to them. I mean.
All right. Number 3 was Grindhouse.
That's a good one. Nice.
Yeah. I love the way that was done.
Yeah. That was great. And yeah, it was great to see in the theater too.
Yeah. It was a fun theater to go.
Yeah.
That's like the best kind of film to see in the theater, because generally everybody who's there is on board with it.
Yeah.
Did
we all see it together?
Yeah.
We might have, yeah.
I think so.
It's possible.
I think we
I
did.
I remember we went in like a pretty big group.
Yeah. I went with a big group, so
like,
must have been.
At least like 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
Maybe even yeah. Anyway, but but no, that was great. And which of the 2 films would you say you liked more?
Probably Death Proof. I don't know.
I did too, yeah.
I would have to agree actually. And like why so I'm a little puzzled. So like why is cuz maybe I've just been on the internet too much, but like does it kind of feel like Death Proof sort of is considered like a bad movie by a lot of people?
Yeah, I don't get it, but it definitely is.
I think it's mostly boring. I think because a lot like most of it was them just chit chatting around in that bar for a good portion of it.
Yeah,
which I loved.
I thought it was hysterical. Yeah, I loved it too. Yeah.
I mean, that's most Quentin Tarantino movies have the dialogue like that, so I don't get it.
Yeah, that's why I loved it too, just the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, the dialogue, like it was the kind of dialogue you would expect, but it like fit really well. I thought like for the like with what the whole film was about and like what was going on in it and like the slow pace of it kind of like to me was worth it because it was like the kind of movie that was like a slow build up to a really devastating payoff. And I thought that the way the film ended was incredible. Like that was one of the best endings ever, and that just kind of made it sort of worth it.
Yeah.
Just the build up to that kind of epic climax. I mean, yeah, no, I was great. Yeah. But Planet Terror though, I mean, I still liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Still good, but Death Proof is definitely the better one.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3 for me is Let the Right One In.
Nice. It's a good pick.
Yeah. Just yeah, that movie just hit like the right kind of notes for me. I felt like just the way the location it's set in, the intimate feel that it has, and just how it kind of shows how it's a vampire movie, but it's one of the only vampire movies I can think of off the top of my head that shows humans as kind of being like the bigger monster. Like the vampire character was like kind of like a big victim pretty much, even though like it was still a vampire. Like, you know, I like when films kind of can show sort of the other side of that and have it be more about the humans and what humans kind of do to each other, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my favorite kind of horror films are the kind that tend to be like more like touching on like weirder kind of social, societal, political kind of themes, you know, and like Night of the Living Dead is an example of that kind of film. And yeah, I love when horror films do that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
for me, like the fact that this was a vampire movie just made it even more interesting to me.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite movies ever. And did you see Thirst? Like the Thirst, the Korean vampire movie?
The one by
Park. I
Park
think.
Chan Wook.
Yeah.
I think I did. I think I
pretty good.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, it has kind of the same similar, like the vampire is kind of a victim. He doesn't like that he's a vampire, I'm pretty sure. It's been
Yeah.
a while since I've seen it, but like,
Pretty sure I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I saw the poster, I'm not gonna look it up right now.
I
But
have it on DVD.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think I saw that one. I don't know. I know I've seen like more than a few of his films. I've seen his entire Vengeance trilogy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I did see Stoker as well. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's my number 3.
All right. I'll go with number 3. I will do The Quiet Place, the new Quiet Place movie.
Yeah.
John Krasinski in it. I love that movie. I mean, yeah, I love that movie. Whatever. I don't know, like, I don't remember the reception of it. I know it, like, when it first came out, everyone loved it, but
Yeah.
I feel I kind of did it get bad reception after
I think it was
after a couple of months being out. I feel like it did.
I think what happened, it's another one of those movies where like the hype kind of killed it for a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
when it came out, it got critically acclaimed, and a lot of people who saw it, like I remember a couple people who saw it just that weekend that it came out who didn't really know what it was exactly, and they loved it. So I think like the early buzz was so high that people saw it and were like, oh, well, it wasn't that good, you know, like they were expecting it to be like the next horror masterpiece or the next like epic sort of film that, you know, was supposed to be like really scary and brutal and all that stuff, and it ended up being like something that was a little more simpler than they were expecting, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was
loved it.
scary.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, I always enjoy films that kind of play with silence and
Yeah,
sound,
yeah,
and
there's
sound
no
design
sound.
is a very important thing in horror movie.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Just thought it was great all
Yeah.
around, and even though the plot holes people can, you know, give shit about it, but
yeah.
it was fine.
I mean, you could poke so many different kind of holes in plots like that,
In
but
any
like,
movie.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. The point is, when I was watching it, I didn't think about it. So
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like the baby-proof room.
yeah,
Like, okay, I could see that work. Like, maybe not a mattress itself would do it, but you know, I could. They don't have to go into the details. It's just they made a baby-proof room's fine enough for me.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
It was-
what's that?
I was gonna say it was cool seeing a different side of John Krasinski.
Yeah.
yeah. This was a good decade for that because Jordan Peele kind of did that too.
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
to get him out of fucking gym though. Always.
Mm.
It's gonna be real hard.
Yeah.
He's doing good though. So
Mm.
yeah. And this is a movie that did make me cry at the end.
The
So,
ending was really
was
pretty
brutal.
emotional.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Jim. Spoilers.
All right. Speaking of Jordan Peele, my number 2 is Get Out.
Yep, that was one on the list. I figured someone would say.
I loved Get Out.
It was so good.
I almost put that on, but I was like, eh.
I almost
But
didn't, and then I came across it. I'm like, oh, why isn't that on there?
no, Get Out is great, and like, I feel like it's one of those movies that's gonna age like really, really well too, because
Yeah.
like I kind of
yeah.
feel like a lot of people who are watching it like today, I feel like a lot of people are kind of misunderstanding it, like because and by the way, if you haven't watched that movie more than once, like
I haven't, but I own it on DVD.
yeah.
So I
it
should
really is worth
consider it.
watching more than once. You catch a lot of the nuances of it, you know, because yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a misunderstood movie. It's actually pretty profound, the kind of horror that it's exploring. It's about something that's very real, and yeah, I mean,
yeah, and you can tell Jordan Peele took his time with this one and definitely had it brewing. Because like Us, I didn't necessarily think it was as like finely detailed and polished as Get Out.
Yeah,
So.
Us didn't quite work as well, you know. I don't know, like to me Get Out is the scarier film just in general.
Oh, yeah,
like
for sure.
Yeah.
the idea of sort of being trapped in like a void, kind of being stuck in your own kind of head and all that
That
stuff.
was crazy.
That's a creepy idea to me.
Mhm.
But Us, I kind of felt like Us was a little overly ambitious. You know, the first 2/3 of it were pretty good, but it kind of fell apart in the last act for me.
I thought like just only the first act was like really good, and then it's just wasn't as smart, I guess I would say, as Get Out.
Yeah.
It was more
Yeah.
straight horror thriller. There wasn't too much. I didn't see too much to look into that one.
Yeah. I felt like
there
it
was some, but like it was more in your face instead of like a subtle
yeah.
kind of.
Like it definitely took some big chances, but it didn't take the same, like it didn't take as many chances as Get Out did, I thought.
Yeah.
Like the way the Get Out was cast, even. I mean, that there was a lot of thought put into that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love the TSA guy.
oh, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, like, so are you guys familiar with the original ending that they were gonna go with?
I've seen both. At least
Yeah, initially that film
I
was
forget which one the original was.
The-
'Cause I've
the-
seen both endings.
the way it was originally going to end. Spoilers if you haven't seen Get Out. The original way it was going to end was the cop show up and he gets arrested and locked away, right?
That was
But
the original one.
yeah, but in the
Oh, okay.
theatrical version, they the one that was released to theaters, the guy turns out to be his TSA friend,
Yeah.
and he drives away, and they drive away off into the sunset, you know, like
I like. Didn't he just blast the dude too?
sunrise, I should say.
Didn't
Yeah.
the TSA guy
Yeah.
kill
Or-
that guy 'cause he
or
was just about
something
to
like that. Yeah,
murder him, right? I think that's how it happened.
yeah. I mean,
That was a better end. Because I don't even remember that other. one,
Yeah.
So maybe I didn't see it.
the if you saw it in the theater, that you
Yeah,
saw
I saw it in
the
theaters.
then you saw the TSA ending, which
But I also
Like-
remember them saying there are two endings, and I've watched like a YouTube video of the different endings, so
yeah,
I may have seen and just
Yeah.
wasn't anything. So
the
it's
original
like-
ending is on the DVD.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
I definitely remember the ending of him coming in to save the day.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
and honestly, I preferred the film to end that way because like
Yeah.
even though
Oh,
some
yeah.
people could argue the original ending is more realistic, I suppose some people could
Yeah.
argue that, but for this kind of movie though, like I don't know, with what was going on with the character and everything, like I really wanted to actually see something positive happen. So yeah, no, I liked Get Out a lot. That was great.
Yeah.
So
A good one.
am I next?
Yeah.
2 or 3?
2. Oh, okay. So my number two is a French film called, well, actually, I'm not really sure how to pronounce the original title, but the English translation is Inside. So,
Okay.
have you seen that one?
I haven't, but I've read about it.
Yeah. So have you seen that one?
What was it? Inside?
Inside.
No.
Okay, well, I would highly recommend not looking up the DVD cover because it has a really disgusting DVD cover. So, this is a pretty, this movie throws a lot at you. So this is essentially a film about a pregnant woman, who gets attacked in her home by another woman who appears to want to steal her baby. This movie scared me so badly that I actually had a panic attack watching it. And like it's interesting though, because it's the kind of horror movie where you don't really feel guilty about watching it because it's two women going after each other rather than like what you see in a lot of horror movies or like a lot of slasher films where it's like some kind of aggressive type of guy going after like a smaller female. This movie is the protagonist and the antagonist are pretty evenly matched, except for the fact that one of them is pregnant and one of them isn't. But like I never see horror movies where female characters go after each other, and this film is definitely like about that. I mean, yeah, this film was pretty scary and very, very, very disgusting.
Yeah, it's on a lot of most disturbing lists.
Yeah. Well, that's my number 2 choice. So
Yeah.
I don't think I would recommend it to those who get like grossed out easily. I most definitely wouldn't recommend it to anybody who's pregnant. And yeah, I mean, but as far as horror films go, like that's one that like scared me like really, really badly. So,
Okay.
but the main character in it is great. You know, she kind of reminds me of a Tarantino character. You know, she definitely like. I mean, it's a battle between these two. You know, but yeah, and it all takes place in one location. So.
Okay. So yeah, I'm honestly off my number one because my number one would have been Get Out. So I'll just see. I'm gonna go with It Follows for my number 2. I guess, yeah. I like that movie. It's a fun one. Nice original plot, and I just like how just creepy it was with like them following. It Follows. Did either of you see it or?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I totally agree. Like It Follows. It Follows is actually really scary. Yeah. Like, and it's kind of scary, sort of in a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of way, or like, one of those sort of 80s like supernatural films, like Bad Dreams or something like that. That like it's just like really creepy, and it has like a creepy idea. So yeah, no, I thought It Follows was amazing actually. So
Yeah.
it in my opinion, like the final act it's kind of when it starts to sort of get a little bit too sort of over the top.
Agreed. Yeah. Like the pool scene thing.
Yeah, the whole thing that happens in the pool, like
kind of dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, like I get what they were going for, and it was like you see that in a lot of 80s like, and you see that in stuff like Stranger Things and stuff.
Yeah.
But like for this movie, I thought if they had gone with something a little bit like more minimal and softer, it actually would have been scarier. But I still thought what happened was pretty scary.
Yeah. The way they did actually get rid of it was fairly minimal and still kind of creepy and disturbing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's also creepy to like think about like that idea, honestly. Like when you actually like think of a scenario like that where you're constantly being chased by somebody that nobody else can see and who is actually going to do harm to you. Like,
yeah,
I mean, that's an original idea. And, I mean, this film kind of, it sort of treated it like a sort of like an STD or something like that.
Yep. Yeah.
And which I thought like, it's kind of an old school way to go about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a curse that the last person that whoever has the curse sleeps with, it gets passed on to them, and then just some embodiment of like mostly their like worst fears and shit just follows them slowly, like it walks. So that's why they call it like it follows. It is a slow like those kind of things, but it seemingly has magical powers too, because it kind of just shows up places and shit. And yeah. But the easiest way to get rid of it, which I don't know, do you want the spoilers or not, or
Doesn't matter.
yeah, so like the two main leads, they were trying to get rid of it, and they're like saying, let's just have sex and it'll follow me and I'll run. And then eventually the chick was like, no, I don't want that for you, dude. And then she like just randomly goes and has sex with some stranger, like a trucker, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And then just walks off. And so he's that trucker is. I don't think she tells him about it because she's the first one to get it. And the guy like basically immediately tells her what's up. He's like, so you're fucked. Good luck. Bye. And, and then yeah, and so she just kind of passes it on to a trucker, and I don't think she says what's gonna happen to him. And it's never clear what happens when the loop gets closed either, when it does kill the person that, or did it say
It did.
It goes back to the last
it goes
one?
back to the previous person. So you're doomed, basically,
Okay,
no matter what.
So yeah, she might be fucked even, because
Yeah.
he wouldn't see it coming at
Yeah.
all, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty like pessimistic horror movie.
Yeah.
Like the atmosphere in it is like so hopeless.
Yeah. It was
So,
shot really well.
Yeah.
Definitely dreary.
Have you seen the director's more recent film, Under the Silver Lake?
No, I've wanted to see that one though.
It's really good, actually.
I've heard
It's
good,
yeah, I liked it. So. Anyway, It Follows.
All right. So my number one is the one I was most unsure about, but it's Train to Busan.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
I had that on my honorable mentions list.
Yeah, that's on my honorable mentions list as well.
Probably should have been a little lower, but looking at all these other ones, but I was just like,
Yeah.
I was kind of bored with the zombie genre, and then this one was so good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I saw it recently too.
Yeah, no, it's the best zombie movie that's come out in ages. I mean, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that one was, like I said, on my honorable mentions list as well. So, yeah, no, that's a really good one. And like what an epic, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an intense one, yeah. It was pretty good.
Yeah. I kind of want to watch that one again.
Yeah. It was. Isn't it on? It's some. I saw it for free somewhere. I think it's on Netflix or something, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it in a subscription box a while ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was a good one. I really liked it because I did just see it recently too.
Yeah. All right, cool. So my number one, I mentioned this one in the top 5 horror films, The Devil's Backbone. Again, just wanted to throw that one out there. It's a must watch, very creepy and very well done. So, and again, it is a historical movie as well, so you do kind of have to pay attention a little bit. There's certain aspects of it that, do require a little bit more from you as far as understanding the times, but ultimately, I mean, once you kind of get into the atmosphere of it and what it's about, I mean, I really like that's a horror movie that I've kind of come back to again and again. I just really, really love that one. So
That's the Del Toro one.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Never heard it. Yeah, I heard it last time, but forgot.
Yeah,
I'll have to
I'm
check
just
it out.
tossing it out there again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have it in his Criterion box set. I have that. Haven't watched it yet.
It's a good box set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool.
All right. I guess. So, how far back did we all make? Just a 2010 or?
Pretty much like from 2000 to 2019.
Oh.
Like
Yeah,
Like,
okay. And I'll just
whichever.
do 28 Days Later for my number one. Yeah, it's a pretty easy pick for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the vampire, or I mean, the zombie genre did get oversaturated, of course, but it
Yeah.
started mostly with this one, the revival of it. I think this helped revive the zombie thing. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although many people don't consider it zombies,
Bah.
but I mean,
I mean,
it's
yeah.
close enough. It fits into. I mean, what's the difference between this and World War Z?
The thing-
Ultimately,
yeah, they're not zombies, but it's a zombie movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Agreed.
there's no matter how, it's just like, that's a genre that it doesn't necessarily have to be reanimated dead people, in my opinion.
Mm.
Be uncontrollable, like this movie.
Yeah.
A rage virus.
The
Fine
crazies.
by me, it's still zombie. Still a zombie movie.
28 Days Later is great. Yeah, pretty scary. I mean, although some people don't like the last third of it, like when like they go to the military base or whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, like, I was still into it. Like, I still cared about the characters and all that stuff. I mean, I was
Yeah.
still scared by what ultimately
I
happened.
mean, that thing is played out. They do that a lot, I feel, in the zombie movies.
Definitely.
Like, they go to a military base, and then the military guys are fucked up and kill people.
Yeah.
So even before that, it was played out. But I thought
Yeah.
they executed it well. But still, it's just a kind of tired trope. I was like, but still well executed.
Yeah. I mean, the film was skillfully done enough that, like, you're not really thinking about the fact that, like, oh, this is familiar. Oh, this is the part where they go to the grocery store to
I
stock
did
up on
have that
supplies
thought
and all
when
that stuff.
I did have that thought when they went to the military base. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
they're doing this in this movie. Damn. But it was
Yeah.
still good. But I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Wish they did something a little different. But
I think maybe the reason it didn't draw attention to me is just because I've seen so many zombie movies that it's like I'm almost more surprised at when they don't go to a military base at the end.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. 28 Days Later. Excellent.
hmm
All right. So that's your number one. And I already said my number one.
Well, my number one would have been Get Out.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I also left off Cabin in the Woods in the Void from last time. So
Yeah, I left off Cabin in the Woods too, and the Mist.
Yeah. It's good to try and like think of other ones. Yeah. But of course I got lazy and went with Devil's Backbone was number one. So which, I don't know. Whatever, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hold on.
this was a tough list to put together.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit, but I don't know. I think our lists were pretty good. Do you guys have any honorable mentions that haven't been mentioned yet?
Yeah.
I've got a bunch.
Yeah, I got it.
Heredity.
Oh yeah, Hereditary.
Yeah, that's good.
How do you pronounce? You say Hereditary?
Yeah. Hereditary was really scary actually. I like that one.
Yeah.
And that was one I think that got a lot. That was another one where the hype sort of beat it down a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
because like what happened with the Quiet Place. Did either of you see Midsummer?
Not yet.
I heard not good things though.
I liked it a lot.
Oh really? I gotta see it.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard for me to say whether I liked it more than Hereditary because it's actually like, I mean, it's quite a bit different. Like it's very much the same in a lot of ways, but it's a totally different kind of movie, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and also I think a lot of people kind of are going into it expecting it to be like a certain type of horror film, but it's actually not quite that type of horror movie that they're picturing. Like it's actually a little bit different than that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ambitious.
I mean, I wanted to see it, and my friend, who's a big horror movie as well, he was a big fan of Hereditary. He went to see it. He saw it with his girlfriend, and he hated it apparently. But like, he has weird taste in movies in general. Like, he has a lot of good movies I like, but like sometimes he just like hates really good shit for no reason other than like an actor that's in it. He's like, I fucking hate that guy. I'm not watching this because he's in it. Even if it could be like the greatest movie ever made, he'll hate the movie just because he's in it. But yeah,
It's
so
funny.
like, I take his recommendations seriously, but also like sometimes he just says, "Nah, this was fucking shit."
Yeah.
So,
Well, personally, I liked personally, I thought that Midsummer was really great. The opening scene, in my opinion, was the scariest part. Um, and I kind of feel like the way it begins could almost be like a short film. And speaking of short films, the director Ari Aster, he directed a short film called The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, which is pretty fucked up, But I watched that one before I saw the movie Hereditary, and yeah, so that kind of gave me like a good idea what his style was. And so after I watched that, I was like, oh no, like what am I even getting myself into with this Hereditary movie, But I watched it and I actually thought it was really well done.
Oh, and what's funny too, I went to see Hereditary. I don't know, it was late and it was a long day for me, and I was just fucking tired. But I think it was coming near the end of its run, so I was like, I gotta go see it. I fell asleep with for I think 5 to 10 minutes. I missed the part where the girl's head gets knocked off. And I woke up a little bit. I woke up a little bit later, not too much later. I was like, they were all pissed at the kid, and he didn't seem to give a fuck. I was like, wait, I missed something.
Yeah.
I clued together that he ran the chick's head off, but
yeah, I mean,
but even me missing that, the most shocking scene they say, and people are saying, I still liked it.
Yeah, when that happened, there were 2 or 3 people that left the theater in front of me.
Oh, really?
That was just
yeah, no, because I remember the party that they were at, and then I fell asleep, and then woke up to him getting yelled at for her death. I was like, oh, shit, I missed something.
Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Her performance was so
her.
good.
She's just good in everything.
Wow. Yeah, Hereditary was good. Any more honorable mentions?
I had The Witch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I almost put that in my top 5, but
I thought one of you might do that. Yeah.
That's another one that's in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Witch is amazing. And there's just the way that film was cast. They got the cast down perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Just that they had the slightly kind of inbred look to them, which just fit the atmosphere and the tone and the location perfectly. I mean, it was just that was a great film. And I've heard that The Lighthouse, the director's newest movie, that the dialogue in that one is kind of hard to understand too, in the same way that The Witch is, which I kind of like. I kind of like what he's got going on here with these movies.
I want to see that so bad.
Yeah, me too. I love stuff like that. That's an interesting idea. Anybody else have anything?
I wrote down The Descent.
The Descent's great.
Yeah. I don't remember much of it really, because I saw it when it came out. It's a 2005 movie. I saw it on DVD when it came out, and I remember it actually just scared me in general.
Yeah.
So I don't remember a lot about it, but I do remember it was pretty frightening.
The Descent was really scary, actually. Yeah. I thought the scenes that kind of in the first half of the movie where they're kind of traveling through the cave and navigating it and stuff like that. Those were the scariest parts in my opinion. Once the kind of creatures, once the inbred sort of monsters show up, that's when it kind of becomes a little bit more familiar, but it still manages to be really scary and emotional.
I honestly didn't even know if they were going to fully show those things as much as they were going to, or as much as they did. I thought they were going to leave them, kind of in the shadows and shit. But I'm glad they went full out on it. That was one thing I remember appreciating.
Yeah. It was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and the ending to that movie was great.
Wasn't there 2 endings to that one as well? I feel?
Well, okay, so it gets messed up because when they released it in America, I guess they gave it a little bit more of a happier ending. Well, I mean, not happy, but more of she gets rescued and then there's a jump scare or something like that. Whereas in the original ending, she's still in the cave at the end and she perishes.
That's what I kind of thought happened.
She basically she's, because how her daughter dies at the beginning, so she's celebrating. It's actually a really moving ending. I loved it. She's sitting there with her daughter having this birthday cake, and it's and she's in the cave, and it's sort of implied that she didn't make it, you know. But then they kind of retconned that by making a sequel.
I didn't watch that, so
Yeah, don't. That's all I
you
can
don't
say.
need to make sequels on stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's not a good sequel.
Yeah.
Any more? Or,
No. I'm all out.
well, I mean, my list includes The Isle, Amer, REC Rec. Which have you guys seen that one? It's a Spanish found footage movie.
I know it well. But I haven't seen it.
I have the box set, but I haven't watched them yet.
Yeah. The first one's the best one. I saw the sequel, but I wasn't as good. There was it's a werewolf movie from the early 2000s, Ginger Snaps, which is a Canadian film.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
That one was good.
Yeah, it's like taking the idea of like female puberty and making it a metaphor for like turning into a werewolf. I mean, I liked
that movie actually. Yeah, that was a good one.
That was really good. There's a Japanese found footage movie I saw called Noroi. It's also known as The Curse. That's kind of a hard one to find. I don't think it's available on Region 1. I don't think. But that movie, I think it might be on YouTube. You know, that's how I saw it. So, and that was years ago. But that one was actually really scary. May, which is about this girl who she's like cutting people's body parts off and wanting to make like a living doll out of them. I mean, she doesn't. I mean, that's kind of like a general summary of it. It takes a while before it's actually kind of more of a character study. Like it's like a ticking time bomb kind of movie, kind of like Joker, actually, where it's like her descent into insanity, and she's like this geeky, like awkward high school girl, doesn't fit in. She's kind of morbidly inclined, you know, but she's likable. But so it's kind of like Carrie in a way too. But I like that movie a lot. Some of these that I have on this, The Orphanage. Did you guys ever see that one?
No.
Oh, I love that one. That's another Spanish horror movie that was really good. Some of the films that I have on this list are kind of like, what do you call it? Not really horror movies exactly, but like Requiem for a Dream. Like Fangoria considers that a horror movie, but I don't know if it technically is.
I wouldn't.
Splice. I don't know if that's more of a science fiction film, but I really like that one. That's kind of a pessimistic movie. Bug about Ashley Judd, like in the hotel room with Michael Shannon. Did you guys ever see that one?
Another one I have but haven't watched yet.
I like it. The Loved Ones, which is an Australian
I've seen
horror
that
movie.
one.
Yeah, I love that one.
That's a good one. My sister got it when she was studying abroad in Australia. She brought it home for me.
Oh, nice.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see, Little Audic, which is by this filmmaker Jean Fonkmeer, he does like animation, like stop motion animation, and that one's pretty creepy, mainly because of the animation. And then for 2010s, I have The Witch. I have The Black Coat's Daughter, which is by the same company that did the A24.
Yeah.
That movie, that's not like your typical kind of horror movie. It's not really a scary one, but that one, like, I am constantly thinking about. Train to Busan I have on here. I have The Wailing, which is another Asian film that's really scary. Berberian Sound Studio, which I was mentioning earlier, how sound design kind of is an important thing to have in a lot of horror movies, and that one makes pretty good use of it. Let's see. I don't know, just a lot of weird stuff. You guys want me to keep going? I mean, it's getting too late.
What about The Gift? Did you guys see that one? It's not really a horror movie. It's more of a thriller.
I haven't seen that one.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's really good. I'd recommend it. Yeah, it's with Jason Bateman. It's kind of like Creep. It has like the same kind of plot where there's a guy that's kind of obsessed-ish with this new family that moved in. Jason Bateman just moved in, and it's a neighbor down the street that, you know, kind of sneaks in and does just creepy shit. It's more of a thriller in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one.
I haven't seen it.
And there's a twist in the end there too. So love anything with a good twist. And I definitely recommend The Gift. Yeah, with Jason Bateman.
Twists can be really good. You guys ever see The Love Witch?
No.
That's a good weird one. It's very thoughtful. I like that. Let's see, The Babadook. I really liked.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. There's one called Snowtown, which is an Australian movie. It's very, very disturbing. I don't know if I'd recommend that one, but that one scared me. I saw that one when it was in the theater too. Although when it was re-released, it was like the title was changed to The Snowtown Murders, which I prefer the title Snowtown.
Yeah.
Let's see. I like a lot of heavier kind of horror films. Starry Eyes. Did you guys ever see that one?
No.
No.
It's kind of like Videodrome, except it's about a woman who wants to be. It's about this kind of young woman who she wants to be like an actress and like a famous kind of actress, and she gets kind of a weird offer from a Hollywood studio, and I mean, I mean, I like that one. I thought that one was pretty scary. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of weird ones, but yeah.
One I had was Raw, the cannibal movie.
Yeah, I like that one. That was good.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that one.
That's basically all I got. Without going onto the internet and just keep listing stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's that movie that came out. I think that new Gaspar Noé film, Climax. Did you guys see that one?
It's on my list. Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that one is. I'd say that one counts as a horror movie, definitely. That one's pretty messed up though. But that's by the same director as what was the one you Enter the Void.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah. It's a dance movie.
Oh, okay. All over the place.
And speaking of dance movies, the remake of Suspiria, that's another one I would mention, was good. You know, that's kind of more like ritualistic dance. That's not really like ballet or anything, or not. It's not the kind of dancing you'd see in like Step Up or anything like that. It's more like interpretive dance. There's like these scenes of them like dancing and almost like this birthing ritual. I mean, it's about like a bunch of witches at a dance studio, and Tilda Swinton is in it.
Oh, nice.
I like that movie a lot, but I could see how like some people wouldn't, because it's pretty strange. It's really long too. It's like over 2.5 hours. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so you guys have any more?
No. All out.
No.
I think we covered most of the big ones that people like, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not that was the intention, but you know. So I guess what we do in the shadows, would that count as a horror movie? I mean,
I guess.
I love that one. I love that movie.
yeah, that's kind of is that a spoof? Probably not. No, not really.
Kind of.
Maybe
I'd say more.
mildly.
Mildly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. All
Still
right.
got to check out that TV series though.
Yeah, I just started it finally.
No.
It's exactly what I need, is like weird jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Right.
my kind of thing. So that's what I'm on board for these days. So
Nice.
that's, I think, also kind of why I want to see another really good like Pixar movie, because they're really good with their humor. So
Oh yeah. I miss
yeah. What was the last one they did?
Toy Story 4.
Yeah, that was a
It's
good
good.
one.
Fucking. My favorite was Ratatouille.
Ratatouille is definitely, that's in my top 3. That one and WALL-E kind of go back and forth. So
Did you see Coco?
I loved Coco.
Oh my god. I bawled
Yeah.
so hard.
Speaking of
That was one
tears,
of the
yeah.
that was probably the most tearjerker movie I've ever seen. It was just like, I don't
Yeah.
know, probably halfway through, my eyes were just like fucking leaking.
Yeah. I loved
It was
that one.
so good.
Yeah, that one might be, I don't know. I'd have to watch that one again. But that one could be one of my favorites though. Like that could be in
Yeah.
my top 5 or top 3. So I don't know. They've done some pretty amazing stuff though. You know,
Yeah.
Finding Nemo, when you really think about it, like that's pretty ambitious to try to animate water so realistically, considering how hard water is to animate. I mean,
Yeah.
and they did it like that. That was a technical achievement right there. Was Finding Nemo, and then they did it again with Finding Dory, which wasn't as good, but
No.
still, it was fine.
And apparently, The Good Dinosaur had a huge technical achievement in the background and shit.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
Because I did not like that movie, but like I noticed like the background just looked like straight up actual real life background and shit, but
Yeah.
imposed were Pixar characters, so like fucking looked weird as hell. Like Pixar guys were running through a real forest and shit. It was
Yeah.
like,
I don't remember The Good Dinosaur. I watched it when I was like, I think I watched it while I was like babysitting or something. So like I wasn't really paying much attention to the plot,
it was like the Lion King meets Tarzan-ish kind of thing.
That sounds
Very
kind of
Lion
interesting.
King-y.
Yeah. Do you guys see the live action Lion King, by the way?
No.
No.
I didn't mind it
Don't
as
really
much
have-
as what?
I don't have much interest in the live action Disney stuff.
Yeah.
I
Most
wanna
of it's
see
not any
Aladdin.
good.
Aladdin may be the only exception. I want to see that one.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie.
Oh yeah. Well, I forgot he did directed, and Tim Burton did Dumbo. Which it's like, oh, okay, bringing back some of the old, the classics. But yeah, I don't know. The Lion King, like, I didn't really mind it as much as other people did. Like, I actually thought the visuals were pretty cool. And I think, and everybody was kind of criticizing the visuals for their lack of emotion and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. To me, like, I didn't really think it was a lack of emotion, like, because it's really because they look like real animals, and most people don't think that real animals look emotional just
Yeah.
in general, and so they don't look as emotional as the original Lion King does. But that's only because the characters in the original Lion King were animated to look kind of more like human, like relatable on human terms in the face, so they'll have like pupils and they'll have like human like expressions, but the remake doesn't have human like expressions. It has very animal like expressions. But I thought that was cool. Everything else about it was like, it wasn't as good as the original. I mean, the original is one of the best animated movies of all time.
Yep.
So of course, like, this doesn't live up to that by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, if you want like a cool looking movie, like, that you can kind of have on in the background, like, you don't even need to, because the music's not as good as it was in the original either. Like, you don't even have to have the sound on. You can just like watch the lions duking it out with each other, and it actually looks pretty cool. Like, it looks pretty realistic, so like, I give it, I would recommend it based on the visuals and just the visuals.
Okay.
So, but I would agree though, in general, the live action Disney movies haven't been the greatest. I liked Cinderella because I thought the dresses were cool. And I mean, I didn't mind The Jungle Book. I didn't mind Pete's Dragon. I didn't mind Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I had problems with all of them, but
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to say about them.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we got on that topic. All right. All right. So have a good night. Anything else anybody else wants to say?
I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
Got it all.
We sure did. Oh my gosh. All right, cool.
All right.
All right, cool. Good night, everybody. Sweet dreams.
See ya.
Bye.